You never met a man like me. You wouldn't understand. I'm in a rock and roll business, honey. Well, I'm in a rock and roll band.
Good morning. Welcome to the Rockstar Fitness Podcast with my one and only true, consistent co-host, Mr. Rob McGeary of Fat Loss Fat Lane. He's not flaky.
Committed. Do what I said I would do.
Committed. You've just noted I am paying homage to the wonderful Whitney, Ms. Houston. I want to fucking dance with somebody. If you haven't ever trained to I want to dance with somebody, then you're missing out on life.
You haven't trained. You've exercised. You haven't trained.
You've probably just done some sort of exercise to music class. You might have been in Zumba. You might have been in spandex. You've never been hardcore. You've never gone all in with a bit of Houston, bit of Whitney.
I reluctantly ask this. Whatever happened to Zumba? I don't see it anywhere.
Simon mentioned it on one of his posts, and I think it killed the popularity.
Was that because he offered a class?
He suggested that it was a good idea, and people were just like, "Well, that can't be true." Simon said it can't be true. Just be the pest.
Look at that.
Hello, Rob.
Oosh.
Right, beat it. Go see mommy. How you doing?
We are good. We are not peak energy. We are mid-peak. We're on the way up.
Are you caffeinated?
I'm highly caffeinated.
What's the bug say today?
So we have an assortment, a smorgasbord, if you will, of motivational slogans, courtesy of Mr. Paul Moore. I don't know if it's in reverse or not. You can see at the top there, "Kick today in the dick" is my favorite one.
I like it. Mine says, I don't know if you can see this, but it says
accurate.
I'll read that out for anybody that can't, the blind people watching. My entire life can be summed up in one sentence. Well, that didn't go as fucking planned, which is not entirely accurate because a lot of the time I simply don't plan.
No.
Slide under the brick thing as it's coming down at the last second, snatch my hat, and look like I meant the whole thing. Victoria.
Plans are only for people who need them. Not everyone needs them.
I have plans. I just don't vocalize them. So when she gets annoyed because she kind of thinks that I fly by the seat of my pants a lot of the time, but almost all of it's considered. So there's very, very rarely a situation where I don't consider the outcome before jumping in with both feet and then jumping in with both feet anyway.
Yeah.
I'm convinced I can pull it off. So it's considered. But no, I think plans is a decent sort of segue into what we could talk about today, because I wanted to talk about trackable metrics and things that people can actually look at as simple tools for getting them moving in the right direction. Because I mentioned on a previous one of these that I felt that a lot of my clients, in fact, I felt like a lot of people, one of the biggest issues was the perception of what they eat and the perception of how much activity they do and how it's skewed. And you get a lot of people that don't think they eat a lot. And when you actually get them to look at how many calories have been in what they've eaten, it's significantly different to what they think it is. And you get a lot of people who think they're really busy all the time and are always complaining. They're the ones that have the least amount of time for exercise or anything along those lines. And when you actually look at how many sort of steps they're doing as a measure of their non-exercise activity, which anybody that pays attention to what we've said knows that that's one of the biggest things for output. It's one of the biggest things in terms of managing your sort of your energy balance is, looking at how much you do on a day-to-day basis that doesn't involve scheduled exercise. And they always think that they're doing loads, and then when you actually look at it, they're doing very little. So I want to talk to you about your thoughts on, well, because here's the thing, we don't have Silent Simon on, we don't have anybody else on the call, so there's no time for Silent Rob today. Okay. So right, yeah, we're gonna get out of that. We're gonna get Rob's view on trackables. What can we do? Strategies for measuring success.
Of course. We'll start with the easy bits. Something I think is important to touch on is it's easy to fall down that route of you end up tracking so much that you create overwhelm, and then you don't want to do any of it.
Yeah.
So I'm very selective with what I get my guys and girls to track, and it's stuff that you can easily implement into your life without it taking it over, without having to go out and buy tons of stuff or worrying about being somewhere at a certain point of the day. But for me, like definitely in terms of the activity level, steps is the easiest thing outside of your workout program to track what you're doing for activity, because everyone has a subjective view on how active or vigorous or strenuous their job is.
Yeah.
Most people having an office job, you can't claim anything remotely close to that. In terms of someone who's working on a building site actively or moving around a hell of a lot, hell yeah, your activity output is a hell of a lot higher than the average person. Steps can take a slightly less, can be of slightly less importance, but
you still need to track it because
you still need to track. Yeah, it's tough.
I had a client who he was a student, but he also worked in refuse collection in the States. He was basically a bin man. He just drove a bin lorry and was getting out of the bin lorry to put things in it. And his average step count was 22,000 steps a day. And, we couldn't put enough food in him. So if you're not keeping an eye on that and managing it to make sure that at the weekends, don't decide to go out for a hike because you've already done 22,000 steps a day as an average without taking into consideration Saturday and Sunday. So, let's try and manage some of it down at times. So yeah, I think you're right. But I do think that people that have a very, very active lifestyle, you need to manage it, you need to track it so that you can feed them appropriately, because this is the thing, like we can't put everybody on the same calories and it's not going to work, right? We're all different body weights. But you can take two guys that weigh 80 kilos and they have very, very different outputs and they're going to need very, very different inputs. Simple as that, right? But you won't know it unless you're tracking it.
Of course. And that's it, is knowing that as well. Like people forget, okay, they might go on a calorie calculator or whatever, or they've used a book or whatever, they've got their numbers and they've ticked strenuous job, high activity level, whether that is true or not. And obviously that gives you the impression that your output is a lot higher. You're burning a lot more calories than the person next to you, but they don't put two and two together and think, well, that actually means I can have more food. They think, okay, well, I'm burning even more calories. That's going to get me a quicker result. Things go wrong later down the line. They've got no fucking energy. They're hungry all the time and they don't know why. It's because, you're creating a deficit you don't need to go into, or a deficit you don't need to go into. If you're that active, man, we need to get some goddamn food in you to fuel just your life, let alone your fat loss or your training.
You know this.
Matey with the 22,000 steps a day just in his job. That's huge. That's huge. I know PTs that don't do 20,000 steps a day.
I don't close to it. But I average somewhere in the region of 9K. And that's because I've deliberately gone out of my way to down-regulate it because I was losing weight too fast. Right. So, it used to be 12 to 14. So I've gone out of my way to pull it down. Yeah. But even as a PT, right? So, I mean, I've had a lot of different jobs in my many lives. I have lived several lives, if you can kind of appreciate that. I've been an athlete. Well, I suppose I could call it an athlete as a snowboarder, which sounds like you would be really, really active, but the better you get at something like that, the more efficient you become at it, and the less tiring, the less energy consumption is involved. So, not really. I've worked in an office in insurance brokering, and That's very, very, very sedentary for most people. But I would spend most of my day standing up, walking around the office, talking on a headset whilst moving. I don't like to sit at a desk. And I've worked in as effectively as a lumberjack in Colorado, where I'm walking around all day, every day, carrying a chainsaw and carrying like cutting up and carrying trees out to a tree chipper. So, you know, I've done a whole bunch of different things that are at different levels, and I can tell you that being a personal trainer is not anywhere close to the top of the tree in terms of activity levels on a daily basis for me. I mean, I might be picking up dumbbells and carrying plates and loading stuff for people and unloading stuff for people when I'm doing it, but it's none of the weights that I'm picking up are particularly heavy for me. You know, and like I said, I only hit about 9,000 to 10,000 steps a day. It's not that crazy in terms of output. So it does make it interesting when you think about. I don't think I got that much output going on simply because of the fact that I have done jobs in the past that are significantly, you know, more.
Yeah.
But as a result, I make sure that my nutrition is matched so that I'm kind of hitting that energy balance with a slight deficit. And at the moment, I've got it wrong. I've got it wrong. So I'm currently dropping weight far too fast. So something's going to have to change. I'm going to have to increase my calories or downregulate my activity. And since I can't really downregulate my activity in this instance, more calories, simple as that. So yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about tracking is that you find that sometimes you are in a calorie deficit and you think, well, I'm supposed to be here and everything's going the right direction because you're dropping. And then you actually look at the rate at which you're dropping and you realize, I could probably have another 400 calories. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be a thing?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you've got a trainer that just gives you a calorie deficit and reduces, regardless of what's going on, maybe have a little think about that, because that shouldn't be the way it works. If you drop too fast, you should get fed more. So all these guys out there that are banging on about, oh, my client's lost 10 kilos in 8 weeks. Naughty. If you're not increasing the calorie intake of that client that's dropping over that 10 weeks, naughty, very naughty.
Damn right. And it's we're talking trackable metrics today, not necessarily an industry bash, but because we could do that every week. But in terms of goal setting, to create a compelling and smart goal to work towards, you need a deadline. Yeah. Why would you then diet yourself stupid to beat that deadline? For what benefit? For no benefit other than the PT can put that up on his marketing. That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
Which is not good for the client.
If it takes you 12 weeks, it takes you 12 weeks. If it takes you 16 weeks, oh well. If it takes you 24 weeks with maybe a little diet break in there somewhere, it takes you 24 weeks.
Really?
Now, the time frame and the aggressiveness of the program is dictated by the client. Like, what's your start position? How hard are you prepared to go? Okay. How much output are you prepared to put in? What's the time commitment you can put into this on a weekly basis? You know, because if we start taking some of these things away and realize, you don't really have enough sort of time commitment, and you're not, like, psychologically, you're maybe not ready to go super hard on a diet. You need to ease into it. Probably more than 12 weeks. A lot of people are more than 12 weeks.
Yeah.
You come on board and you're like 30, like, as a guy, you're 30 to 40% body fat. You're not going to be transformed in 12 weeks. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Not happening.
If you come on board and you're skinny fat and you've got no muscle, you're just going to look like wiry if you try and do a 12-week transformation where you just lose fat. You should, the focus is in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So look at where you are, what your start point is, look at what you want to achieve, and then plan for that over an appropriate time frame.
Simple.
It sounds simple, right? I mean, it sounds simple. we
So,
both, we both know it doesn't plan out. It doesn't pan out that way a lot of the time, and you have to make lots of adjustments.
which again highlights the importance of tracking. With no data, you don't know how or when to make those adjustments.
Data is king.
Yeah.
Now, I will caveat that because there are going to be things that don't require data to let you know whether or not you need to make an adjustment, but they should kind of be backed up by data. So if your mood tanks, if your sex drive tanks, if your drive to train tanks, if your general sort of setup or your general sort of day-to-day is incredibly lethargic, then there's something needing to be changed.
Yeah.
Right. And it's maybe not the calories. It might be that you've decided to switch to a really clean diet, and you're only eating what people look at and consider clean foods. And all of a sudden, because of the fact that you've got less processed food in there, your sodium intake's tanked. And as a result of your sodium intake tanking, you're not uptaking as much potassium into cells, in which case now you're going to have a harder time training, right? So little things like that, you might not necessarily need, data to back it up, but if you've got data to point to everything else being in the right place, then at least it gives you that opportunity to go, right, okay, like everything else is perfect, it should be working. You shouldn't be tired, you shouldn't be feeling like crap, you shouldn't be emotionally breaking down. So let's look at the other factors. What else is going on? Maybe if you've been dieting for too long, you need a little bit of a break. Maybe you need a refeed. Maybe you need to increase your sodium intake. Maybe you're not drinking enough water. But again, that's trackable, right? We can track that.
Yeah. So,
most people don't. How many of your clients are tracking their water intake?
oh, none. They're terrible.
Who? Who? I don't do it. But then I don't know if you find this, right, but as a personal trainer, right, I'm going to get into something a little bit afterwards where I keep hearing the phrase from other PTs that complaining about when clients say, oh, it's easy for you, and they want to whinge about it, right? We'll come back to that, right? But as a personal trainer, I spend most of my day with either a bottle of water with like electrolytes or vitamin C or something like that in it, or some sort of diet soda, or some sort of hot beverage. I am continuously hydrating without thinking about it. So I think that's not, I don't track it because I know that over the course of the day, I'm going to have 2 of these.
Yeah.
That's 500 ml in each of those. That's a litre. I'm going to have at least 3 cups of tea, and I'll have them in a big sort of 500 ml cup. So there's another 1500 ml. I'm gonna have 1.5 litre bottle of water that has my electrolytes, my vitamin C, and lysine in it. So I mean, I'm already up there. It's not. I'm not like I'm well over 3 litres.
Yeah.
Do I need to track anything? And that's not including the incidental sort of Iron Brew Extra or Coke Zero that I'll throw in because I kind of fancy it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but most people don't. Most people aren't tracking that, and it's something that can play a huge part in whether or not you feel energetic, or your brain's functioning appropriately, or you're able to train hard. What is that there's that statistic that people like to throw out, is it like 1% dehydration or 5% dehydration is like 10% reduction in output when you train. Like, I don't know who measures this shit, like who it is that's done that. Somebody will probably comment on this and be like, oh, you guys don't know. Like, it was such and such doctor with a PhD who did this study and blah, blah, blah. Good, brilliant. So at least we'll have a reference. But, the fact of the matter is, if you're dehydrated, you don't train well. You don't function well. You're not as energetic. You go lie in the sun all day long and don't drink anything, and then tell me how much better you feel after you've had a big glass of cold water. And I know that's kind of psychosomatic. It's a little bit like,
yeah, but it's true, and it kind of like harking back a second goes back to what you've said previous times before. Is we track now, or if you've never tracked before, you track to earn the right later down the line to not track because you would have implemented this as a lifestyle.
Yeah, and then it's a habit, right? I mean, I don't like to think of it like that in terms of, you know, habits. But the simple fact is, when we've got into a structured approach that fits into our lifestyle and works, and it becomes something that's almost like an automatic thing. You don't think about it, like you just kind of, that's how you roll. Then it becomes a lot easier to take your eye off the ball without it going tits up. And I don't mean doing that all the time, because I genuinely think that keeping a tab on things is, even when you're not pushing, right? Even when you're not dieting and you're not trying to get bigger, you're just kind of maintaining and just living life a little bit. I think it's still a good idea to keep an eye on these things and track them, except on occasions where you maybe go on holiday or it's Christmas. With my clients, when they go on holiday, even if it's the middle of a transformation, it's like, go on holiday. You're on holiday. You booked a holiday. You're going on holiday. Enjoy it. Don't go away and, you know, come back with resentment over the fact that everybody else was eating and drinking and you didn't. Go on holiday, because any damage that you do over the course of a week is not going to be undoable. It might push you back by a couple of weeks on your schedule.
Yeah.
But it's not undoable.
Imagine that. Put yourself in that position that you've hired a coach, a PT, and you've got this holiday booked that you've probably had booked for a little while, or you're opening up, you've taken the opportunity to go over, and your PT's telling you, right, well, remember, you signed up for this goal, so don't hit the breakfast buffet, don't have alcohol. If you eat out, don't have carbs, you know, swap chips for side salad. What fucking holiday, bruv? Having a laugh.
Fuck sake, pounds.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm similar with you with the hydration. It's rare. I wouldn't even call it habit. It's just subconscious for me now. It's rare that I find myself without some sort of drink.
Beverage. Yeah. Yeah.
Recent-
I mean, it's almost like it's almost like a crutch, you know. I've got something in my hand.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do weird shit with it. Kind of, you know. Because otherwise, it's like, you know, Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. What do I do? What do I do? You know, the car was really good today. I mean, so yeah. No, the holiday thing, I think is quite an interesting one. The only thing I ask my clients to do on holiday is try and, if they want to train. If they can find someone to train, go train. But the only thing I really ask is that you try and keep up a decent step count.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing 8K a day, stay 8K a day. So get up in the morning when everybody else is, you know, like milling around and doing not very much, and go out for a walk. Get some road miles in, you know. Other than that, you're on holiday, man. Enjoy it. I do.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Look, I've been on holiday when I've been dieting for photo shoots, and I've stayed on a Spartan plan, right? I've been on holiday where I've been prepping for bodybuilding shows, and I have stayed on plan. But the thing about it is, that's kind of like, that's my thing. So I mean, I'm like, if I'm going to get on stage in sparkly pants, then I'm not missing out on anything by not doing not doing a holiday the way everybody else does, right? I'm still there. I'm still with my family or my friends. I'm still enjoying myself. I'm still having a good time. I don't need to get after it to be involved in that, because for me, I'm going to enjoy the process and the experience of getting ready for the stage or getting ready for a photo shoot, like, more than I would do getting lashed up and eating a whole bunch of Mackie D's.
Yeah.
But that's me, right? I mean,
that's the difference.
I can't put my sensibilities on anyone else. You know, it's just, that's the way it is. You know, I've had people that make the comment about sacrifice. You know, and you're giving up so much. Think, am I though? And what am I giving up? I'm giving up what? because what I get from this is worth more to me than anything that you perceive as being given up or anything that you perceive as being a sacrifice. I don't think it is, man. I don't think there's any sacrifice involved.
Wholeheartedly.
Do I want to go upstairs and open the cupboard and smash the 6-pack of salt and vinegar hula hoops that's in there? Yes, I do. Am I going to? No, because it's short-termism, right? The long-term thing is that at some point down the line in the future, I'll be in a position where I can eat 6 packets of salt and vinegar hula hoops without it even touching the sides, right? Because you're lean enough to, and you can just absorb that hit. But right now, where I'm trying to get down to a decent level, I said decent level, I mean, I'm trying to get down to a level where most people would be impressed, so that I can continue with my planned off season. Then I know that in a couple of months I'm going to be pushing calories again, and I'll be able to sneak little bits and pieces like that in every now and again. No big deal. There's no sacrifice. The sacrifice would be me doing it and then realizing that I don't have the volume of food that I should have over the course of a day, and now I'm going to be a little bit hungry.
Yeah.
Because I ate something that was hypercaloric, hyper palatable, which now has me wanting more hyper palatable food that's hypercaloric, because psychologically that's the way it all works. You have that thing and you're like, oh, I want more of that thing, because that's what humans are programmed like. We didn't evolve in a situation where hula hoops grew on trees. That would be awesome. So when we would find berries and stuff that was high calorie, you have to eat lots of it to make sure that you can maximize that sort of that haul, right? So your body tells you just keep eating it. But there's a big difference between berries and fucking hula hoops. And I'm focused on the hula hoops because they're in the cupboard and I saw them last night. They've been in there for a while. And the thing is, when I wasn't dieting, it wouldn't have bothered me.
Yeah, of course.
But now that I'm dieting, I told myself, you can't have that psychologically. Like, oh, I kind of want it. I don't want it as much as I want to be moving forward.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
So there's no sacrifice.
I wildly disagree with people using that term, because you've hit the nail on the head. You're not sacrificing anything if you're doing what you love. And if you enjoy training, and if you enjoy okay, maybe not necessarily the process of hard dieting, but the understanding of what that's going to do for you long term, your overall health, longevity, your energy, how you're going to look, how you're going to feel, compliments you're going to get from people. There is no sacrifice.
If you're single, the extra sex you get.
Exactly. As long as you haven't dieted that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one, right? So before I met Victoria a long time ago, when I spent a period of my life single because my previous long-term relationship broke down and went tits up on me, I was prepping for a men's physique show, so men's bikini, the one that you would do.
One with board shorts, yeah.
Board shorts. It's men's bikini, yeah. You have a threshold, so you get to about the sort of 6 weeks out mark, and you're looking amazing to the general public, right? And women find it attractive, and you get loads and loads of attention. And then you go beyond the 6 weeks out mark, and it starts to really dip into the nasty kind of levels of condition. And all of a sudden, you stop being attractive, full stop. Like, so, and if you don't get to that point where you're no longer attractive, you're probably not lean enough to get on stage. Right? You have to be at a level where your family looks at you and goes, "That's disgusting." You know what I mean? Or your mother says, "I think you need to stop now because you look really ill." That's when you know you're getting to true condition. When the cheeks sink in and you start to see striations on your face and you have no energy for anything. But yeah, there is a tipping point. There's a tipping point where you're too lean and it's no longer an attractive prospect for members of the opposite or same sex, depending on your persuasion. Unfortunately, what we want to achieve to look good for ourselves, and what we want to, because most of us are extremists, right? I mean, you get that, I'm going to hit that point, and you hit that point, and it's like, okay, I'm now going to go 10% past that point, and then you get there, and you're like, all right, fuck it, 100% past that point, because nobody's dead. Let's figure out how. Let's break things to see how far it takes to actually break things. And so we're all largely extremists, and as human beings, we'll all chase more and more and more each time. So what we want, or what we sort of think of in our heads as being, awesome, is not necessarily awesome to everybody looking in. So you hit that tipping point in this game over. But yeah, that's a different story altogether. That's a different topic.
I didn't say that because before I even met you, in any digital way, shape, or form, I used you as a reference a few times with some clients who had said, "Oh, so and so said I'm looking ill. So and so said I'm looking too thin." Even though we're miles away from the goal, so you can't be looking too thin if you're miles away from the goal. And if anyone comes out straight away saying you're looking ill, they're just being a dick and they're jealous. But I used you as a reference because one post you did, I swear it was either a change room or a bathroom. You had your top up and veins were everywhere.
Yeah.
Your caption was something along the lines of, "I'm going to keep going until I'm repulsive to the opposite sex." I was like, you are not too thin yet.
The thing is, I probably was already there at that point in time, and I had been for most of my life. No, I think I remember the post, and I don't know if there was the follow-up one that you saw, where I'm just literally completely topless, and the cheeks are so sunken in, and it's just nasty, grainy, like awful, disgusting. And I was all pleased with it. I'm like, I've never looked this good. Do you know what I mean? Nobody else sees it that way. The only people that see it that way are like other people that are involved in bodybuilding that look at it and go, "It's fucking awesome." Nobody else sees it that way. Totally skewed. It's totally skewed. But no, that's an interesting one where people are clients, general population clients get that you're getting too thin, or you're getting too slim or whatever. That's usually leveled at them by people that are uncomfortable with how their progress makes them feel. So I always feel that you tend to get that kind of comment from people that are unhappy about the light that you're shining on their lack of progress. It's very different. It's a very different thing when you're bodybuilder lean, because when you're bodybuilder lean, even looking back at it yourself, you'll be like, "Oh, I did not look good." Like in terms of, I looked like I was like close to the end. But with a general population client, they're never going to be that lean.
No.
I mean, it's just
no.
They're never going to be that lean.
I know it's different for us because we see the end result, and we really see how healthy they look and how good they look, and obviously how bad they looked before is evident to us. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But
people forget
I've never seen a client get to the end of their result of my work or anyone else's work, unless they were really, like you say, going bodybuilder lean. I've never seen anyone get to the end where I've gone, "Oh, they look ill now." Never.
Yeah.
The only people that come out with that comment are people that are not doing it themselves, or have never been there themselves.
Fat people say it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's fat shaming.
Miserable
fat people.
Miserable fat people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Miserable fat people that are telling everybody how happy they are.
Yes. There's another word for those. Liars. That's it. That's the one.
Popo. Cool. So we've covered tracking steps, tracking calories.
Yeah.
I like to keep an eye on how much sleep.
Yeah.
Not necessarily going crazy and putting on a strap and measuring sleeping heart rate and seeing what the cycles are and all that sort of shit, unless there's a problem. But just how many hours were you asleep for? What time did you go to bed? What time did you get up at? Did you wake up during the night? Blah blah blah.
Yeah. Same. Same. A little subjective rating of quality. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily, it's like I say, you don't need to get kit. You don't need to
No.
hook yourself up to anything. If you got a watch, cool. I don't, and I can kind of.
You can't, because like unless you've got one of those ones that doesn't require to be charged every day. I've got an Apple Watch and I have to charge it every fucking day, so I can't wear it overnight. Because if I wear it overnight, I can't wear it that next day. So pain in the ass.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. A little subjective. How do you? I mean, because you know.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep very well, or I did sleep well. You know. So if you just track that in. Key. You don't need to be doing things like fasted blood glucose. You don't need to be doing things like. I mean, my God, tracking your heart rate variability. It's not a bad thing, right? But it's massively overplayed. Like I spent a period of time trying to track my heart rate variability with, a view to trying to improve it. And the fact that it wasn't happening, regardless of all of the things that I put in place, had me more stressed. And as a result, my heart rate variability started to creep up, like something to go wrong, because I'm more and more stressed at the fact that this metric isn't going in the right direction. And then you sit down, you're like, you know what? The real issue here is not that I'm not doing everything that I can do. It's that I've got seriously damaged sinuses from having broken my face 3 or 4 times. And like simply put, I don't breathe that well. So it's never gonna work well for me. Like it doesn't matter how much sleep I get, it doesn't matter how hard I try to breathe, in an optimal pattern. Like I can't breathe through my nose. So, and so I think it's one of those things where your norm and my norm are going to be different.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And if my norm's, at a certain level and I can maintain that, then so be it. That's brilliant. I don't think I think it's a massively overplayed tool. I think there was a period of time where it was very, very sort of fashionable. I even fell into that habit myself, trying to get people to track their HRV. Largely pointless, in my opinion. Same goes for fasted blood glucose. Pointless. Don't do it.
Much. I don't know what the trend is. I don't know if it's, without wishing to bad mouth anyone, because there's a lot of companies that I hugely respect that do this, but I don't know what the trend is recently with people. I'm seeing it a lot more on social media now, and I'm thinking you're a general population fat loss client. How do you think we did this for decades? How do you think we're still doing it now? People not doing this. You're just putting extra, like say, stress, putting extra stress on yourself.
Yeah, you're adding a stress load.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, as a coach, as a trainer, yeah, you might decide that I'm really curious about what's going on with my blood glucose levels on a daily basis. I don't know, like I've done it where I've tracked postprandial, I've tracked FBG and postprandial to see where I am, how quickly I get back to baseline, things like that. But in the grand scheme of things, how much of a difference that actually makes? Like, I mean, you'd have to be in the 1%, to be getting anything from that. So it's pointless.
Yeah.
Do the basics, right? Like, there's the old Bruce Lee quote. I'm pretty sure it's attributed to Bruce Lee, where he talks about, it's about practicing 10,000 kicks, right? So learning 10,000 kicks, or being the guy that just practices one kick 10,000 times every day. Be that guy.
Yeah,
the simple fact of the matter is, that's going to be effective. That guy is going to have like a kick that can topple a horse, versus 10,000 tippy tappy wastes of time.
Yeah.
So I think it's bang on the money. The metrics that I like to track that I think are important are, some of them are actually largely subjective. So there's no real sort of data driven. It's how do you feel? 1 to 10, how do you feel? How's your mood? What's your energy levels? How stressed are you feeling? How often are you bowel movements, and what sort of quality are we looking at? You know, what's your sex drive like? What's your drive to train and your motivation to train like? Are you feeling strong in your sessions? Is it easy for you to sleep? Like little things like that. And then on top of that, your non-exercise activity, step count, your nutrition tracking, and your logbook for your training. You know, simple as that. I think that's a real. I mean, if you were to only do 3 things out of all of the things I've mentioned, you'd be silly. But if you were to only do 3 things, then logging your non-exercise activity, your nutrition, and your training would be the 3.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the big 3. Like, let's call that the big 3. Then everything else on top of that helps to inform when things aren't really going kind of, you know, within the brackets. So sometimes things, you know, everybody's an individual. Human beings are very, very, like, they're very, very individual things. They're every one of them's unique. You need to kind of treat them that way. So you can't just go, well, so-and-so 70 kilos at the same sort of level body fat as this guy, and, you know, so he should be on the same calories, the same macros, the same sort of scheduling. It doesn't always work that way. So you need to be able to have those extra little tools, those subjective ones in there that you don't maybe have necessarily scientific data backing them up. There's no, you know, scale that's going to tell you what your mood is there? You know, you just know what your mood is. You rate it out of 1 to 10, and then that gives us a good idea of where we are. Because if you go from a 10 or an 8 to a 10 in your mood, and all of a sudden 5 weeks in, your mood's at a fucking 4. Well, there's a problem. It's not just you're having a bad day or you're having a bad week. That's a problem. You know, that's something that we should try and look at. Let's try and figure out why. Is it because there's something going on in your life that's causing you to be down, or is it because your diet's going a little bit too well? You know, maybe you're dieting a little bit too hard. Maybe you're doing too much activity for the sort of time frame that you've got and the energy balance that's going on, right? Little things like that. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, in terms of successfully implementing it as a lifestyle and make it the minimum effective dose, your non-negotiable should be your activity, your training, and your nutrition. Non-negotiable. No one's got an excuse, a valid excuse, for not tracking their workouts. I've got some clients that will do it on a spreadsheet for me. I've got some where it's the last thing I tell them to do, as long as they've got a notepad and it's written down and we can refer to it at any point.
The fact of the matter is that for logging your training, nothing beats it.
Nothing beats it.
Right. Spreadsheets. Use your spreadsheets for checking in with a coach if you've got them, right? But nothing beats pen and paper. You know, that ink's never going to fade, right? Yeah, that's always going to be there. I've got literally dozens of these filled in a drawer down here that just filled.
Yeah. And that's it. And it also, pen to paper means you're not worrying about getting your fucking phone out, or as I'm seeing a worrying trend now, iPads and computers on the gym floor. You know, you're not distracted then. Your focus for that hour is
who takes a laptop to the gym with them?
Bruv, I'm gonna have to name and shame some people. I'm gonna have to film them, put them on my Instagram. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. Like, it's not.
And it kind of makes me want to do that. Oh, I just accidentally dropped a dumbbell. Oh, it fell on your iPad. Oh, what a shame. Shouldn't have brought your iPad to the gym, should you? But we'll see. How do you do that if they're not bigger than me? And then we'll.
Yeah. But I mean, that's like, there's nobody that's. Sorry. And you'll note, of course, that I am actually sitting quite a distance away from the screen, and that's for a very, very, very specific reason. I'm sitting quite a bit further back from my laptop screen than you are, and yet my head is the same size as yours.
Yeah,
that's why. because otherwise I've got like I think I'm turning into Hagrid. My head's enormous. My head's enormous anyway. I measured it the other night, and because I've got to buy a new snowboard helmet. Because I will admit to having been for the last few years since I retired from snowboarding, very, very silly and not wearing a helmet. So I've had to buy a new. I'm having to buy a new one. So I have to measure my head, and it's like, okay, you're in the extra large helmet size. Like, fuck. Really? Like, I mean, I know I kind of knew this because I used to get them all the time for snowboarding, but I wouldn't even look at the sizes. I just walk into to the shops and like put them on my head until one fit.
Yeah.
Whereas now I've had, because I'm mail ordering it, it's like, oh, okay, I suppose I better measure it. I measured my head, and the circumference of my head is like 59 centimeters.
Jesus.
So
Never measured my head.
measure your melon.
My head.
It's not just like all the way around. It's like it's huge. It's like a moon. This one gravitational pull. Yeah. Dear God. Yeah, no, right enough. The logbook. I'll tell you another thing I do with my logbook. I pre-fill it. So I put the loads that I'm going to use in there, and I have the previous week's reps in mind when I go into it. So I know I have both pages open. So I'll put my pen into the logbook on the page that I'm filling, but the clip is over like several pages back to the previous workout, so that I can quickly look between the two. And I pre-fill the loads that I'm going to use. So I'll look at the previous workout when I'm filling it in. And if I got top end of my rep brackets, then I'm putting the weight up by 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
And then I'm still trying to hit that top end of the rep bracket. It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But that kind of pre-filling it means that you can't back out on what you've got in there, and you can't go, oh, I did 14 last week, so if 13, maybe I'll do 13 this week. No. It's there. It's in black and white, or in blue and white in my case.
Yeah.
You can't hide from it. There's no hiding from it. Don't be a pussy. Simple. Like nobody gets to Valhalla being a fucking pansy.
It's all part of that ritual, the pre-workout ritual.
It's an important
thing. Mindset, getting yourself in the zone, knowing what you're setting, the intent of what you're going in there to do, rather than leaving a workout to chance and comparing notes at the end.
Look, the pre-workout ritual, I think, is such an important thing, and people don't appreciate it. And it's one of the reasons why I was never able to train and work out at home until we built the office.
Yeah.
Because the office is in its own self-contained room. When I walk through the door here, I'm in the gym. So that's part of my rituals. I have to go to a gym, and I say never. I very, very rarely train where I work. So I don't go into the gym that I work my one-to-one business from. I don't train there. I never trained when I was like very, very rarely trained when I was at our former employers. I would go to Muscleworks instead, or to Gym Box. And when I worked at a Gym Box, I would always go to Muscleworks, right? Despite the fact that it was from Victoria to Muscleworks was like an hour and a half round trip. So I would have to schedule 3 hours of my day so I could go and train. So the pre-workout ritual, we've been able to have it as a separate space to your comfort zone, I think is huge. And that's why we built this. We built this because we were kind of future proofing ourselves. And then once we started, it was like, well, I don't really want to train in a gym unless I have to. So when I'm on prep for the next time I go on stage, yeah, absolutely, I'll be training at a bodybuilding gym, and I'll train there probably for the entirety of the last sort of 12 weeks of the prep. But up until that point, there's only going to be a couple of sessions a week that I need to. So the only ones I'm going to train at a bodybuilding gym are legs. Pretty much everything else gets done here. I can train hamstrings here. I can train, quads at a gym. I can train hamstrings here. I can train arms, shoulders, all my push muscles, all my pull muscles. I don't need to go anywhere else to train. And I've got enough load and enough equipment to do it. So, the only time I'll need to go to a gym, a commercial gym at the moment, or a bodybuilding gym at the moment, is when I want to train quads, because leg extensions, hack squats. I'm not a squatter. It doesn't fit me. It doesn't work for me. So, and who the fuck wants to do split squats?
The fuck?
Sorry, apologies to all my clients who are doing split squats as part of the program. I hate them, and they're incredibly effective, but I hate them, and I'd rather be able to get myself in a position where I'm using significant load, where I don't dislike the movement. And to clarify, if I was to do split squats, I would need to use quite a significant load. So, and you don't, none of you do. So shush. You're weak. So no, I'll be the only session I train in the gym when I'm not training here, because why would I?
Yeah, silly. Why would you?
This is a wonderful little dungeon.
Without getting too deep into that side, because some people get it, some people won't. But it is a kind of a sacred space.
Yeah.
I'm very fussy with what gyms I train at now. There are some I go to out of necessity that I can't stand long term.
No. Look, I can put up with shitty music if the gym's right.
Yeah.
But if I go, like, I couldn't train in a gym box with the music that they play in there.
No chance.
Right.
No.
I couldn't train. Like, I couldn't train in a lot of places that play house music. I think that's fucking awful music. Right? If you like house music, then we can't be friends.
Can't.
Simple. Whitney, late 90s hip hop, early 2000s hip hop, and heavy metal.
There you go.
Or do one. Simple. Oh, I just because it's Rob, bit of Prince.
Oh yeah, there's a Prince songs I would work out to.
Let's go crazy.
Let's go crazy, definitely.
Yeah, let's go crazy. I might even be tempted by a few others, right? But obviously we're not gonna work out to Diamonds and Pearls.
No, but Purple Rain in the right mood can.
I don't know. This is
towards the end, as soon as the guitar solo hits. I don't know. Maybe I was just emotional. Maybe. Yeah.
Dieted too hard. Estrogen levels are too high. So I'll put up with shitty music for the right gym, but the thing is, when you go to the right gym, it tends to not have shitty music. It tends to be a decent eclectic mix, and not just the same shit all day every day, because the staff behind the counter aren't really gym heads. And that's what a lot of these commercials do. They just hire people on front desk that aren't into the gym. So they hire them because they think they're outgoing and friendly, and they're the types that are spending all day every day dreaming about being in Ibiza. Which not my cup of tea. I've been to Ibiza a couple of times, but only because Victoria wanted to go. And the first time we went was nice and relaxing. It was away from all the party scene. It was brilliant. It was beautiful. Absolutely lovely. Second time I went with her and her sister, and we ended up going to see Calvin Harris, and I'm just horrified. I'm horrified that I've been to see Calvin Harris. And you know what? It wasn't very good.
No.
I kind of expected like a world-class DJ to absolutely kill it, and it wasn't very good. So not for me. But then, yeah, I mean that's just down to personal preference, right? I'm not saying that it's bad if you like house music. It is, but it's just personal preference. And if you're in the gym, like, you want someone that's got a bit of it's either making you feel happy and positive, or it's got a bit of an emotional edge to it. It's got to have
an energy, and something that is just the same monotonous. No, there's no. And don't give me shit about when it drops and comes like no. That's like instant coffee versus the real thing. You just don't know. You haven't had the real
It's not the same. It's not this, and everybody knows it's not the same.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off. Be your instant coffee.
Yeah.
I don't drink a lot of coffee anymore. I will caveat anymore, because everybody that actually knows me will be like, fuck off. We know what you used to do. Because I used to get through like 5 of those Americanos, those, you know, those Starbucks, the big ones.
Yeah.
That I what do they call like tall or like venti, something like that, something stupid like that. Just call it a big fucking coffee. I mean, I just want to walk into a coffee shop like a Starbucks or a Costa or whatever, and up on the menu it says big fucking coffee.
There you go.
You know, but I used to have, and those are like 4 shots of espresso in them, and I'd have 5 of those a day, and then on top of that I'd have 2 or 3 cans of the sugar-free Monster, the white one.
Yeah.
And I would mix my caffeine-filled pre-workout 2 scoops with one of the cans of Monster. So I was walking around constantly feeling like my head was going to explode, and this is great. And then you stop and you realize this wasn't so great. I actually feel a hell of a lot better since dropping down to maybe one coffee a day at most. Sometimes I'll have a couple of days go by without having a coffee. I feel good for it. And I think a lot of PTs go through this phase of being highly caffeinated, where they're just literally running on the magic of caffeine. You know, magical energy.
Make it their identity as well.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Come on.
Have an identity that doesn't involve a food stuff or a beverage. You know, like Rob's identity revolves around, you know, tantric wanking with
That's fucking identity.
Coconut oil in the shower.
Yeah.
Oh God. No, I mean, getting back to the
trackable metrics, yeah.
the trackable metrics. No, we're gonna segue here, right? Because I mentioned it and I'm going to talk about it because it fucking annoys me.
You did.
PTs that get fucking butthurt about clients saying it's easy for them. It fucking is. Like, I'm sorry, but it is. It's fucking easy for you. You know why it's easy for you? You're in an environment where you're surrounded by people that are like-minded. Boom, there's one, right? 2, it's kind of an expectation that if you're a trainer, you probably like to train. 2, right? 3, you're having to use your body as a billboard. So you've got extra added motivation to be in shape for the most part at most given times. And you've chosen to be in this environment, right? So clearly there's something about it that works for you. Whereas most of these people that you're training, they didn't choose to be trainers. They're working in the city, or they're working, you know, they might be stay-at-home mums. They're just, they don't have the people around them, the surroundings that keep them motivated and keep them compliant, because, you know, like, you know full well if somebody walks into the gym you're working at with a big tray of donuts munching away, right? Like Jay or Baz. That you're going to be like, fat fuck. You're probably going to mug them off a little bit. Oh, on the donuts, are we? Are you sure that's a good idea? You know, that super iliac's looking a little bit on the chunky side. Yeah. Or you have that cheeky pinch at it, you know? You walk past and you have a little pinch at the subscap. Like, oh, donuts, eh? Like, so you know it's easier. You know it's easier. Don't pretend like, you know, oh, you know, I work really hard. Of course you do. Everybody in the fucking gym does.
Yeah.
Like, every trainer's in the gym thinks they work hard. Every trainer in the gym thinks they eat well. Like, be fucking honest about it. You're living a lifestyle that people that you're training who are mentioning the fact that they think that you've got it easy, they can't live.
Yeah.
You're active on your feet all day, every day. They're sitting at a desk 60, 70 hours a week. You know, they're having to do meetings, like Zoom calls, in the middle of the fucking night. Right? Of course it's easier for you. Shut up. Stop being a wanker. Anyway.
When we're trying to help people overcome these hurdles that they've got, massive hurdles, and we're trying to help them implement it into a lifestyle that's actually going to work for them and make it easier for them. How the hell are we going to benefit them by pretending what we're actually doing is hard?
It's hard.
What's the reason?
Why are you making out that you know it's hard for you too? You should be reveling in the fact that you can demonstrate that you've got strategies in place that make it easy for you. You should be able to point out to them that, hey, look, one of the reasons why I'm in shape is because I'm surrounded by like-minded people. So maybe it's not a bad idea for you to try and find some more like-minded people to spend time with, rather than spending time with Stacy at the fucking donut and coffee stand. You know, let's maybe broaden our horizons a little bit. Let's maybe even think about, and it's a bit harsh to say it, cutting some of the people out of your life that are not good influences, that don't have your best interests at heart, that are telling you look too thin despite the fact that, you know, they are 30 pounds overweight and verging on supermorbidly obese. You know, look to thine own self first, right? But, you know, maybe you should think about cutting some of those people out, or at least, at the very least, kind of putting them on mute, right? And I know you can't just take a remote control with you and be like, Stacy, mute, shut up. You know, but what you can do is you can just have it in the back of your head that that's an opinion I don't care about. The opinions I care about are these ones that have my best interests at heart, that are telling me that I'm doing well, that are helping move me forward. You know? And no, I don't think it's a good idea to just surround yourself with yes men and sycophants that are going to tell you how awesome you are. You have to have some people in there that are going to be really brutally honest with you. But if you've hired a coach and they've got a decent set of ethics on them, then, like, I've stopped people from dieting because it's like, you know what, we could keep going with this, but you're just going to look skinny and horrible, and you know we need to spend some time putting on some more muscle. I hate to break it to you, but you know you've been dieting for a long time. You're not where you should be, not because you haven't been doing what you've been told, not because you're not able to, but because you actually need the additional time that's required. You need more time. You need more effort put on building a bit more of a base underneath the fluff, so that you can reveal something worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, don't surround yourself by yes men, but maybe cut out the ones that are the constant negative voices. And on the topic of negative voices, don't allow yourself to be one, because the voice you hear most often, the voice you hear more than any other, is your own. And if you're constantly telling everybody else how shit you are, so that you kind of make yourself sound a little bit more humble and it's, you know, self-deprecating, then all you're doing is you are spending your time. Imagine if it was somebody else doing it. You wouldn't put up with anybody else spending all day, every day telling you how shit you are. But you might, but if you did, you're an idiot. All right? So why would you put up with it from yourself? You don't, you shouldn't. So in this house, negative self-talk is banned. Victoria's not allowed to do it. Freya's not allowed to do it. Joshua's not allowed to do it. There's no negative self-talk. If you can't do something, it's you can't do it yet. If you're not good at something, it's you're not good at it yet. You know, there's no absolutes. There's no I'm shit. Unacceptable. You know, unacceptable. And the kids will do it every now and again because they want a bit of attention. I'm really bad at this. I'm not very good. I'm like, shut up. You are brilliant. You're just not where you want to be yet. Keep working, keep going, keep pushing. You know? So, no negative self-talk, boys and girls. Don't do it. Don't allow yourself to do it. Don't fall into the trap. You know? And if you do it, make sure it's very obvious that it's a joke, if it's being made as a joke, right? Because there's nothing wrong with a little bit of self-deprecating humor every now and again. I mean, I made a joke earlier about being like repugnant to women, and let's be honest, I'm not. But I know I'm not. So, you know, the simple fact of the matter is, negative self-talk should be banned from your life. It should not be allowed any way, shape, or form. Do not do it. Don't send messages to other people telling them that, you know, you feel as if you're a bit crap compared to them. Don't compare yourself either. You're on your own journey. Stay on your own tracks. Move towards your own destination. Enjoy the journey. It's the journey that's the important part. If you come to the ultimate conclusion of what the destination is to this journey, it's dead. So enjoy everything between now and dead.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go. Anything to add?
that self-talk thing's huge. We could probably do another whole episode on that.
Fucking good.
You know, I think we should. That's huge. And even the, like you say, a little bit of self-deprecating humor, a little bit emphasis on that word little. Don't make that your identity. Constantly putting yourself
Be
down.
that guy.
All this self-talk does kind of linger inside. It does stick.
Look, one of the reasons that people can't nail me with banter is very, very rare that somebody catches me, right? And when they do, I'm quite happy. I kind of find it quite amusing. But one of the reasons that people can't nail me with banter is that I don't mind taking the piss out of myself, and I don't mind making a fool of myself, because I don't take myself too seriously. I take what I do seriously. I take my identity as like a parent, as a partner. I take these things seriously, but I don't take myself seriously, right? You know, I get on stage with creosote tan and sparkly pants. If you can take yourself seriously doing that, then good luck. Well done to you. I can.
Yeah.
Right? And also, I'm a big kid. I spend most of my life doing things purely to amuse myself. So I'm not going to take myself ultra seriously. So, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit and tell myself how terrible I am at things. Like, you know, it's just not going to happen. There's a level of self-deprecation that you should allow, and it should be very, very obvious that it's being said as a bit of a joke, tongue-in-cheek, and that it's not fishing for compliments. It's not trying to kind of play down for other people to make them feel good, because you shouldn't be trying to make other people feel good. It's not your responsibility. You know, it should be at such a low level that people actually know you're joking because you don't do it often.
Yeah.
You know, but it is true. The most powerful voice that you hear, the voice that you hear the most often, the one that has the biggest influence over you, is your own, and it's both spoken word and also in your head. There shouldn't be any room for negative inner monologue. I mean, your inner monologue should be, you know, a badass. You should be walking into a room and then your inner monologue being, I'm the baddest motherfucker in the room.
Yeah.
Simple. You know? And if you walk into the room and there's somebody in there that's better than you at something, good, there's a target. Like, good, there's somebody to try and compete with. There's somebody to try and overcome. Simple. Shit's gone wrong in my life. Excellent. Something to do, something to work on, something to improve.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Fucking negative self-talk. Do one. It's unacceptable. And it's powerful. It's really, really powerful. Because when you stop doing it, when you realize that you've been doing it and you stop doing it, you start giving yourself a positive voice, you realize how much better your life goes as a result.
When you start catching yourself doing stuff.
Yeah.
The first thing I would suggest to anyone, because a lot of people will say they don't do this, and they 100% do. First thing I would advise anyone to do is to catch yourself how often you say sorry to someone else when there's no need to say sorry.
Yeah.
Someone bumped into you and you said sorry. That's negative self-talk.
Yeah.
I know you held the door open for someone, but you walked away and the door's shut, and you say stupid reasons for saying sorry.
Yeah. You should never apologize unless you've done something to be at fault.
Done something wrong to apologize for.
Right.
If you catch yourself how many times a day you're actually saying sorry to people for no reason, you'd be shocked.
Or you can apologize if it's to point out how stupid somebody else is. You know? when you're doing it to be condescending.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's the same as saying with all due respect when none is due. You know? Like, simple. Like, anytime somebody says with all due respect,
there's no respect.
Nope.
No offense intended. Yeah,
no offense. Look, without being offensive. No, what was that one? Like, so the sorry for bumping into people, right? So I was walking down Bishopsgate. This was Christmas time, pre-lockdown, right? And like I'm not inconspicuous. Like I'm not a little tiny guy that's running around. I mean, I'm like 5'10", 5'11". You know, I'm normally walking around at about 210 to 215 pounds, and you'd think I'm quite easy to spot, right? Especially in a busy street, right? But I'm walking along in the flow of traffic, right? Not against the flow, in the flow of traffic. And I've got my phone out and I'm holding my phone in my hand. And all of a sudden, I put my phone in my pocket. And as I put my phone in my pocket, obviously the shoulder comes forward. I just nailed this chick, right? And she hits the ground, right? And I'm kind of like, oh, I'm really sorry. Because, you know, polite. And also, you know, I've just flattened you. Yeah. And she looks at me as if I've just shit in her mouth. And I was like, why are you looking at me like that? You walked into me. I apologized out of politeness. Like I was gonna help you up, but I'm not now. And I just went on my merry way. Yeah. Why are you looking at me like that? You walked into me. You know, you apologize for these things that are reflex. It's not because you genuinely think, oh, I'm at fault. Reflex. Yeah. You know, like you're walking against the flow of traffic. I haven't deviated from my line. I am walking in a straight line. You've actually come diagonally into me, and you're now on the floor. That's what happens. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah. How else would that scenario have played?
If I was looking at you, would you have done it? You know what I mean? I put the shoulder in a bit harder. Yeah. Oh, right. No, you're right. You're right. Never apologize unless you're at fault.
Yeah.
But if you are at fault, make sure you're quick to apologize.
Yes. Fuck's sake.
And on that bombshell, on that note, I think we've had just about enough of today. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from Mr. Rob McGeary and myself, fuck off.